Alright, so today what I'm doing is a quick comparison between a Craftsman 6-inch router, 6 1/8 inch router, and a Delta 6-inch router. It may come as a surprise to some of you. Some of you might even have a problem with it. I like the Craftsman better. I prefer it. Hey, if you like what you see here or you found it interesting or useful, why don't you give that subscribe button a click. Maybe give us a like, maybe hit the little bell thingy, lets you know when we put up new videos. What? Huh? Oh, my lawyer would like a word with you.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
Why, you ask? Well, let's get in a little bit. This is probably, the Delta's probably a 40s, late 40s machine. The Craftsman is probably mid-70s, mid to late 70s. Okay? We have non-stop planes going over today. I don't know what's up with that. The Craftsman's physically a bigger and heavier machine. It's got about an 18-inch in-feed table. The Delta's got about a 16 overall. Craftsman's just a hair over 3 feet. The Delta is 32 inches. So it's a bigger machine. Also, the fence is longer. On the Craftsman, it's 34 inches. On the Delta, it's 27 inches. Also, the fences on these are on opposite sides. This guy's attached over here on the Delta. This guy's attached over here on the Craftsman. If you look at that. As long as we're on the fence, let's go into that. I do prefer the Delta's fence controls. Here we are on the Delta. It has the knob on the handle here, and depending on which nut you loosen, this one or this one, if you loosen this one, it will allow you to tilt the table, get the angle. It's got a little angle gauge underneath here with a pointer, and it also has a number of stops over here. You can see this. This you slide in for a positive stop there and a positive stop there. Both of these have a screw to adjust, to micro adjust that angle here and here, and also once you get that angle adjusted, they have lock screws here and here. It's got a nice angle gauge here, and this guy rotates so that you can point him to the exact angle once you get him locked in here. Good fence. You'll notice it has no additional support back here. Okay, it's just this end that clamps on. On the Craftsman, the fence is a little different. It still has positive stops, as you can see with these two knobs here, and these are eccentric so they can be adjusted very minutely. And its lock, that's for the tilt, and then you can see it has an additional support back here where you can lock it down. I prefer that. Some people will say, well, that's just flimsy sheet metal. You know, it's not going to help. Yeah, it does help. Trust me. And then the lock in and out is a simple hand wheel that you can lock like that. Longer fence. Okay, let's move on to the controls. For raising and lowering the tables on the Delta, you have these wheels here. I will tell you this, that you cannot put a Delta on a flat surface. This hand wheel will hit, and it will not allow you on both sides, on the infeed and outfeed table. It will hit, and you can see it goes below the level there. So you need to get your, whatever you're setting it on, can't be flat, can't be a piece of plywood or whatever, you'll have to cut it out. I don't have any problem with these. They can be a little tough to move in and out depending on how tight you get your gibs, and I like my gibs pretty tight just because I like the accuracy of it. Whereas on the Craftsman, it's a single knob. Because the Craftsman has a fixed outfeed table, the only part that moves is the infeed table, and you move that by just turning this knob. So there's nothing to that, and once you get it adjusted right, it's just an easy thing to do. Some people don't like the fixed outfeed table. They say, well, you can't, it doesn't have any adjustment. I would argue with that. correct. It does not have any adjustment. But when's the last time you adjusted your outfeed table? I never have, and I use these things all day, every day. You have to set your blades to the proper height for your outfeed table. We'll get to that in a second. But once you get that, you never have to adjust it. On the Delta, the outfeed table is adjustable just like the infeed table. So you can set up your blades and then you can adjust your table to whatever you want for your blades. I have noticed a lot of Deltas. The problem that I run into on the Deltas is the tables are not, if they're not parallel, and most of them are off a little bit. Most of them are a little high in the center. I've worked on dozens of them, and most of them are a little high in the center. In other words, it forms like an upside down V. Not by much, but by a little. And there's no adjustment for that. I suppose a guy could shim the infeed and outfeed table some and get it down, but there's no factory provision for that. Whereas on the Craftsman, you can adjust this table all over like this. There's 4 adjustment screws down there, allow you to raise the back, lower the back, raise the front, lower the back, get it side to side, and you can get it perfect. It takes a little of dinking around, but you can get it perfect. So I prefer that for the Craftsman also. Motors. I have to say that I prefer the Delta motor. Here is the Delta motor. It's a regular all ball bearing induction motor, half horse. Most of the Deltas, the factory ones, they can be changed to anything, are the 1725 RPM with the big 7-inch pulley on them, sheave on them. The Craftsman motors are still half horsepower. In this era, most of them were sleeve bearing motors. I prefer a ball bearing motor. You'll also notice this guy's much smaller. That makes me think that even though it's a half horsepower, it's not as powerful as the other one. So I do prefer the Delta motor. There's a myriad of stands that you can get for the Delta. There's the real nice cast iron ones. There's the splayed leg ones. There's this one. This one is the biggest one, widest one, so it's the most stable. So this one's not too bad. It does not compare to the Craftsman one. The Craftsman ones, there was kind of one stand that you could get, and this is what it looks like. Wide, it's stable, you can put rollers on it just like you can on the other one, but it is a nicer stand, a more stable stand. I wouldn't say nicer, but a more stable stand. Electrical. Craftsman all came with these of this era. All came with these. Safety switch, it's got a key you can pull out to, you don't have someone you don't want using it, and for safety. And what's really nice about these from a restoration standpoint is that the power cord comes in and then the motor plugs into this. So in order to service the thing, you unplug the motor. There's no wiring that's involved. You just unplug it. So that's really nice. On the Deltas, it's whatever the guy put on it. This one I redid, so it's all 3 conductor, a ground, positive, minus, or positive, neutral, and ground. And then I always use a metal box and a 20 amp commercial switch. So, but these can vary to whatever. All right, they both cut about the same. They both spin about the same RPM. Okay, moving along to the cutter heads. Cutter heads are approximately the same diameter. The Craftsman is just a tiny bit bigger. But the blades are retained in a much better fashion, in my opinion. First of all, the blades are thicker, they're deeper, they're wider than the standard factory Deltas. So you could sharpen them more, I guess. Second of all is the way that they are installed in the cutter head. These have jack screws. They're right down there, so you can very finely adjust the height of the blade. And the gibs are held in by a socket head cap screw, 2 of them, on a locking taper So it's really easy to change or sharpen your blades on these. It's really easy to get them aligned again. On the Delta, again, I'm sure that it's very strong, but there is no jack screw. So a lot of guys will use a magnetic thing that holds the blade at the right height so that they can set the blade correctly. I don't do that. I just use a friction fit. There's a video on both of these. I'll put the video link in the description. But these are held in by screws, okay, or by bolts actually. And those bolts thread in at an angle to the gib. Okay, so it's a little counterintuitive. You loosen the bolt in the gib to tighten the blade. And that's a thin area there. You need to grind a wrench or get a special wrench for that. And resetting the blades in the Delta is much more difficult than it is in the Craftsman. Okay, so there you have it. That's my critique of both of these joiners. Don't get me wrong. Both of these joiners will do yeoman's work for many, many years with a minimum of maintenance. Sharpen the blades every once in a while, oil them up. They will perform for, this one's 80 years old, this one's probably 75, 25, 50 years old. So they'll both work. I just give a very slight edge to the Craftsman. Also, last thing I should mention is the cost of these. Because Deltas are kind of collectible, you will pay more for a Delta than you were for a Craftsman. I buy these all week long up here in unrestored shape for about 50 bucks. Craftsmans are 2-3 times that. I'm sorry, Deltas are 2-3 times that. But both will give you a great job, and I think beat the pants off of most new machines, especially the desktop ones. If you got anything out of this, you like what you see here, you want to see more content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.